Hey, welcome back to the Experience Share. My name is Blake, and today we're with the one, the only, the Golden Eagle Cards, who's here to go through the different tier lists that I made 6 months ago, back in February, March timeframe. And we're going to look and just take a peek at how did these cards settle out by the end of the beta meta. So, Golden Eagle, I'll pass it over to you.
Hey everybody, I'm Golden Eagle. I do the stats. I like seeing breakdowns and understanding why cards are good and why some are bad. But looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Glad you're here. So, taking a look here, this is where we all started off. Was this different, S, A, B, C, D tier of going through the avatar. So this was what I guess probably right back when Fury Road was one of the most popular decks. Death
Yeah,
Speaker
six
was
months
rampant
ago.
with Gen combos.
Yeah, Jin combo was everywhere. It was the deck to beat. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so let's just take this in the first tier here. I don't know. What are your thoughts? Where does Avatar of Air, or sorry, Avatar of Earth fall at the end of the beta meta?
Avatar of Earth is my pet avatar. Like this is the one I invested a lot of time into. At the end of beta meta, with the hyper aggressive decks that are out right now and roots running rampant, Avatar of Earth can't really afford to like take turns off rebuilding. You kind of want to get to 4 or 5 and start beating in. I think it's still A tier. You can still win games, but against the other S tier decks, it feels a little weaker to me right now.
Yeah, I definitely think that's probably a fair spot for it. It was definitely dominating at the very beginning. I know people were upset of, oh, I didn't get the Alpha Precon. Alpha Precon skyrocketed in price. People couldn't find the Alpha avatars anywhere. And I remember that's how I felt was, hey, are they going to reprint the Alpha avatars anytime soon? And it was strictly because of the Avatar of Earth. And little did I know, there was maybe a different Alpha avatar that we'll be talking about later that maybe
Who knew the
was a
Alpha
more
avatars were
dominant one
pretty
at the end
good?
of the day.
Yeah. Yeah, and then
All
Death
right.
Speaker, like 6 months ago, was like Jin combo, like you said, just everywhere. It was the deck to beat. I blame Ira on that one, winning season 3 or season 4. No, season 3 of
Yep.
the Sorcery League Discord. Um, I blame Ira, but
Yeah,
right now I still think it's
absolutely.
still
Playing
an
the
S tier
ruler of
deck,
Thule, four
especially going
color.
into. Oh yeah, but going into Arthurian Legends, there's going to be some crazy broken Genesis things. It's still S tier in my mind.
Yeah. It's still really strong. I probably would go either way. It could either be right up there with Avatar of Air and the A tier, bottom of S tier. They're only going to print. It's too good of an effect Genesis for them not to print anymore. And I'm also curious if
Yeah.
the new deck size increase. There's plenty of ordinaries that Death Speaker wants to play, and I think that might be in its favor as well.
No, absolutely. Or like right now in the meta, if you want to talk about like the meta act, like with beta, it's probably A tier just because Avatar of Air really shuts it down because it dies too quickly, and then Seer Roots resets it too on turn 5, and then it really needs to get to 6 mana to really do the thing. But I think it's still an amazing deck.
It's a good point. Maybe for beta meta, it does fall out. It loses its grace of S tier. It's going to go into the A tier. You know what? I think that's probably a good take.
Okay. And then Sorcerer is just like a good generic card draw.
I know this is anytime I'm
Right.
picking an avatar. Is it better than just drawing a card? Is the synergy in the deck better
Yes.
than what Sorcerer can do?
That is a very good statement. Yeah, I agree with A tier right now. Like Sorcerer's really, really good, but we haven't seen it win any really big events. So, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly. Since Fury Road, I think it won March. No, Enchantress won March of the Mortals, so it was pretty
Yeah.
dominant during the March of the Mortals time frame. But you're right, it hasn't picked up any sort of major decks since then. So it's kind of fallen off its pedestal after Fury Road fell down.
Yep.
All right,
And then
moving over to
Pathfinder.
Pathfinder.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's good, but it never wins, so I don't know.
Unless your name is Zack Attack, I'm
Zack
thinking
Attack.
B tier is kind of where it's falling right now.
Mm-hmm. I can get behind that.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I love Pathfinder, the early draws that you're able to get, but you don't know exactly what threshold you're going to play or what you're going to flip over. You can really only play 2-color decks, and I know this is the next set. I'm really worried about it with 30 atlases. That just increases the inconsistencies. If there's not enough sites of 2 different thresholds for you.
And the new basic sites not working with Avatar Pathfinder kind of like feels bad. I
Yeah,
think Pathfinder's getting a lot of hate that it doesn't deserve, but
I
who
know.
knows? Maybe it gets good.
And I just picked up my foil one too. Bad timing for that, maybe.
Ooh.
All right. And so going over to the better wait until the next set tier. We'll have to see how this ended up faring out. Uh, but Enchantress, how was that shaken up at the end of the beta meta?
Like going into Roots, I was talking to CJ. Roots attacks Enchantress's threshold really poorly. And with the new Mulligan change, it's really hard for Enchantress to get a good starting hand. So it's in a rough spot. So I think it's like C tier right now, just because the game isn't set up for it right now.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. It's funny. It won March of the Mortals with, but then ever since then, it's just kind of fallen down. Roots completely pushing it down. It's a slow deck. It doesn't have much of an answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not playing Earth for the most part, so it can't really, stop the Roots combo. So yeah, it's kind of a, if you enjoy playing the deck, keep playing it, have fun playing it. But in the competitive scene, it's definitely fallen out of favor.
Absolutely. An Avatar of Air. This is
The
this
menace of
is
the
the
meta.
one that this is the meta. This is top of S tier, I think.
Yeah.
The ability to fly around and push your minions and attack consistently is so strong.
Yeah. No, absolutely. The mobility was underrated back then in that
Mhm.
February, March timeframe. The more that we played the game, the more that we learned about it. The early aggression that Avatar of Air does, it's really hard to stop and to slow down. This has been my pet deck for the last season of the Sorcery League, and I think it was a lot of people's. I think it had a 60-something% win rate going on the play. So it's a pretty tough
Well,
deck
no,
to stop right now.
I reposted the win rates on the play. Avatar of Air has a 70% win rate. On the draw, it has a 60% win rate.
Gosh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
it's a pretty tough
that's
deck to
terrifying.
go against. Right?
Yeah, yeah.
All
And
right.
then Elementalist. What do you think of Elementalist?
I think for the next set, like if we're gonna put an arrow next to something that's gonna get a lot better next set, that's probably gonna be one of my picks, just because the threshold is gonna be so important with these different knights. Honestly, there's been some unique control decks coming out that maybe if we had another couple of months with the alpha beta meta, it could move up. But I think it might actually be accurately placed here in B tier. But Bruce, I'm excited to hear what your thoughts are.
Yeah, no, I have Elementalist at A tier for me, just because of the control decks you just mentioned.
Yep.
But I think it's B tier. I think the deck is really good, but I think you have to be really good at sorcery to play it really well. So there's a balance there.
Yep.
If you want to put an arrow next to it, I think it gets a lot better going into Authurian Legends.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think you just called me out for not being a good player, and that's why I had it on the B tier because I'm not very good with it. But that's all right. Maybe in the
I
next
can't
set I'll
play
get
it, so
better.
I can't play control and sorcery. It's too hard.
All right, Geomancer here. The original Roots combo deck was Geomancer based. How do you feel like it's faring right now at the end of Alpha Beta meta?
It keeps winning. Like when Gen Con, I think it won some Australian competitions. I don't know, like the card advantage you get from its second ability. You pop roots. You can play. You can get more cards. And you have to. Your opponent's rebuilding. Like, I guess it's really good, but I don't understand why it's good.
Yeah, that card advantage that you get early in the game, if your opponent plays Roots, it pops it against you against the Seer Roots combo. That probably gets Roots off more consistently. Geomancer's incredibly favored into that. There's some of the hyper aggression like Avatar of Air can put out that can be really tough for the Geomancer deck to put up with. But that's where I like the Air Fire out of Avatar of Air. It's because I've had some local Geomancer players in my local scene that started playing Earth Fire or Air Fire with Avatar of Air, so I could deal with all these little jump blockers and get in. Because of the inconsistency against some of the other decks, I probably would put it at A, is where I would put it now. But I'm curious where you end up with Geomancer right now.
Just out of sheer stat or like records, I put it at the bottom of S tier. I can agree with A tier. It could really either go either way, and then it's also going to get scary going into Authurian Legends because of the card advantage and going with all these new Earth minions coming out. I think it's going to get also very scary.
Yeah, I'm excited. All right, Spark Mage, one that I think people were a lot trying to brew around quite a bit in alpha and beta. I don't know if it ever really found its list that solidified. I've seen a ton of changing lists with it. How do you feel like it ended up at the end of alpha and beta?
I've got a buddy, speaking of local scenes, who plays Spark Mage. It feels like a not a worse version of Avatar of Air, but like there's a burn list kind of goes with it, or you can play very similar to Avatar of Air with a lot of flying aggressive minions. I don't know. I think it's like mid B tier, right where it is. I think you called it 6 months ago.
Yeah. That's probably in that B to C range. I do think it's only going to get better as there's better air cards to be able to play. Air already has really good cards in it, but they're low threshold. And so one thing I'm curious to see, and I've already noticed from some of the cards they've already released, is that they're really leaning into the threshold cost in these next few sets.
Which is really exciting to see. It makes deck building a cost, right?
Exactly. It means that you can't just play Elementalist and have all the threshold that you need. That you need to be thinking through your sites as well. And I think that's really exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Passing over to Battle Mage. How are you feeling about Battle Mage right now?
I think Battle Mage is a worse Avatar of Earth. It plays very similarly. It's very aggressive. Like Count Tolstoy and James have a really effective air water battle mage where it has like play a lot of shrinks and polymorphs and turns those into like cantrips and you can draw cards, and that's really good. I feel like it just dies to big minions though. Like if just you gum up the board and if they don't have removal, it just stalls out. It's also a very knife edge deck. I didn't really have fun playing it, but it's an okay list. Also, I don't know. People really like Battle Mage.
I know, and I feel bad because this is somebody's pet deck right now that I'm putting in the C tier. As it's probably a casual deck for right now. If you wanted to play the competitive Battle Mage, you play the one with Divine Healing. You play Avatar of Earth. But shout out to Drew who built the Entangle Mage deck that was popular, getting popular for a while, playing the Battle Mage, and also for the new position he has for Sorcery. So super excited for him. Shout out to the local Texas team down there.
Super exciting. Yeah, and speaking of Drew's Battle Mage deck, I actually he played Entangle Terrain, and I was playing it. And I was like, this would be really good in Avatar of Earth. So now I have two Entangle Terrains in my Avatar of Earth deck.
Exactly. Common sense for something that just turns off all the blockers on your opponent's side, and then you just swing in for 5 with your Avatar. Oh yeah, it's strong. All right, we talked a little bit about Geomancer, put it in the S tier because of the root combo and its resiliency against playing against roots. Seer, what are your thoughts on it? Where did Seer end up?
At the end of beta meta, I think it's S tier. The 40-20 site split, because you can you can get consistent roots combo off. I think going into Authurian Legends, it goes down a notch or two because of the ups Atlas size. You're not going to be able to find that so often, and then you don't have the card advantage of Geomancer.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, back when this tier list was made, I was thinking around, like, you could search for your janky combo decks. That's a lot of the times what it was for, but as this continued to get refined, the consistency, you can almost find the roots combo every single game. Like, Seer is the reason they had to change the mulligan rule. So really powerful card. Definitely at the end of alpha beta meta, it's going to S tier. But we'll see what happens to it going into Arthurian Legends.
Yeah.
All right, Flamecaller. How are you feeling about the aggressive fire avatar here?
I'm on. I don't know. I think it's a better avatar of fire. That's kind of my hot take on it. I think it's needs a little something extra, like being able to cast your opponent's fire minions out of their graveyard, kind of like that speaker does, would be kind of a cool bump to it. I think it's like B tier, maybe C tier. There's some cool fire minions you can take advantage of, but I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah, I've seen some neat lists going around in the league, and I know somebody actually was quite successful. I think they went 6-2 playing a Flamecaller.
Yeah, that's Roaring Turkey. He's actually made it to top 8. He just got knocked out, but he has a 3-color Flamecaller playing Earth for Common Sense and Rift Valley.
That's awesome. Okay.
That's really cool.
Maybe it's You know what? Just for the fun of it and for roaring turkey's sake, we'll put it B tier here. You better wait until the next set because maybe there's some really strong. They've been leaning into these to thresholds, so maybe this is a
Yeah,
game changer for it.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, Wave Shaper, Alpha and Beta, the Water Avatar. How do you think it ended up here?
I probably C tier can catch. Like, I feel like there's a water control list that could lock down minions, but Wave Shaper asks your opponent to do something. You ask your opponent to build a certain way. So, like, if they have a burn deck where it's just burn spells, your Wave Shaper ability doesn't work. Your opponent has to be playing lots of minions for it to like really do its thing. So, I think it's probably C tier for that reason.
Yeah, exactly. And just because Water's struggled quite a bit in Alpha and Beta, there's a chance that maybe it's just right now. If you want to have fun playing Sorcery, there's other avatars to play. Who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's a D tier. I'll leave it in C though. I do think it is the better of the Water avatars in Alpha and Beta, but they've already released some
Interesting.
pretty strong Water side cards for the next set.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, in our D tier, the don't play tier, Avatar of Fire, Avatar of Water. Have you played against either of these avatars in any of your Alpha and Beta?
Avatar of Fire, there's a couple people in the Discord who like it's their pet thing, but they're kind of like there's like it's not playable. But Avatar of Fire is just like inherent card disadvantage, right? Like you draw a site, then you discard a site to deal some damage. Cool, I guess. Avatar of Water, I actually think it's a movement ability, like teleport and flood, and is kind of cool. I don't know if you've played Drew's secret Avatar of Water deck. I don't know if you like me saying
I
that.
have played it a time or two. Yes. Excited to see what
I really
it does
like it.
here, maybe in AL whenever it gets released. But the fact that it's a tap ability when Avatar of Air doesn't have to tap.
Yeah.
Somebody hated Water from the get-go on the Eric's Curiosity.
Yeah.
Just kidding. But still, if it wasn't a tap ability, it would at least be a B tier deck. If not, gosh, maybe even an S tier like, well, I can't. The minions aren't as strong, but it'd be a much better. I do think right now, like I'm not playing Avatar of Water. Shout out to Drew and his brew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know, the teleport's kind of fun.
It is fun for sure. So we already kind of hinted at this. I wanted to look at any avatars. Maybe we can shout out two that are we expect to be a lot better going into the next set, and maybe two that aren't going to be as strong going into the next set. What stocks are you up on right now? We already said Elementalist. What do you feel like is going to be strong going into the next set?
Avatar of Earth. I'm gonna brew a 3-color with air, fire, Avatar of Earth to splash air and fire and get air movement. Ooh, it's gonna be good. I know it is, but also I'm a little biased, so
that's all right. Hey, nothing wrong with supporting the pet deck. What about going down? Is there anything that you're like, you know what? It has a throne right now, but I think whether it be the Mulligan rule or whether it just be the next set in general, what do you think is not going to perform as well?
I think it's Seer Roots. Just the increased Atlas size is just a huge downtick to it. Maybe there's some cool sites and some other things that we're kind of come out, but just because of that fact, I think it goes down.
Yeah, definitely. Man, I'm looking at the list and I'm like, maybe Geomancer would be the other one just because the Roots combo is going to be worse. Is it just like down on Roots? Is that kind of how we're feeling with the increased deck size?
Well, it's down on unique site build arounds, right? But I think Geomancer has Roots in it, but it's not a Roots game plan. It can do that. It can also win just on card removal and card advantage. So that's a hard one. Going down, I think Avatar of Air is just going to be so consistent.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have another down one for you.
All right, we'll leave it at 2 then. And great. So let's take a look here, and we'll try to go a little bit faster through the other ones as we're moving through this. But let's take a look here at the next. So we're gonna take a peek at sites here, and maybe instead of going through all of these, I'm gonna hit out the tier list. We'll go through and be, hey, is there any of these that maybe stand out as like, they probably shouldn't be in this one? But this tier list is a little bit different than your traditional S, A, B, C, D. My thought process here is I didn't want to call out anybody's pet card. I'm like, oh, you probably shouldn't play this one. I don't want to play this. It's my favorite card. It's in the D tier. And so I looked at it a slightly different lens. So you have flexible and powerful, which could be really can go into any deck that you're playing. It's that flexible. It's that powerful of a card that you basically, for playing these colors, you slot it in. Narrow and powerful is a really strong effect, but they're built around. You're trying to do something really intentional with this. Fine and flexible. These aren't the best cards ever, but they're also not worse. Like they're fine to play. And then same thing, narrow. It's a build around type of deck, but they're still fun. They're not maybe a auto include in every deck, but they're fine whenever you do play them. The last one, the kind of bad tier, and there's definitely one hot take that took place back in February that needs to be adjusted. But these are cards that I probably wouldn't play right now. There's probably other cards that I would rather pick going forward. And so these aren't cards on my list, but just because it's on here doesn't mean you can't brew around it. So let's start off at the top, Bruce. Is there any of these in this flexible and powerful tier that you're like, you know what? Nah, probably not. Not as strong.
I think you nailed it on the head with your S tier there. All of those are very strong. Rift Valley is a huge disrupting play. Maelstrom is extra movement. Color out of space, just color fixes colors. Mirror Realm could be a boat. It could be anything. It could be their bedrocks kind of thing. Pillars of Zeros is a utility land in my mind. It doesn't. The Earth Threshold is a bonus, but like the hate you can have, the random life gain you get is really good. I think you nailed it on the top one there.
Yeah, with the unique sites, they kind of gave it. They did a really good job, and the sites that they wanted to be utility sites, they definitely nailed it with the design on that. I was listening to somebody on a podcast named Golden Eagle, and I was talking about the earthquake opportunity. You can move somebody's color out of space with earthquake and turn it off. And so now I'm going to be mindful of that when he's playing Avatar of Earth and I'm playing a color out of space. Like it's going to be far away from any of his sites where he can't turn it off for me. But still a really good, strong site. Okay. Going over to the narrow and powerful here. Are there any of the sites here that you feel like maybe aren't quite as powerful and should go into that maybe fine tier?
To knock some down, I think Edge of the World, Dome of Osiris, Great Wall, and maybe Primeval Springs. Like these are all very they are cool effects, but I don't know if you really are building around them and really want their every single game. The bridge, the new bridge that is kind of like a Great Wall for airborne minions but it has air threshold. I think is going to be pretty good.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you there. At the time, there was a kind of block out deck that was Elementalist playing all colorless sites and using Edge of the World so they couldn't play a site in front of you, using Dome and some other and bottomless pits to make it where it was hard for you to move onto your sites. It was a cool deck, and that definitely influenced the decision I was making these. And I think at the end of the meta, I think narrow and fine goes in there. And honestly, as much as I love Primordial Springs, I even have the artwork behind me. I think it ended up in the fine tier overall. It's hard to have that disadvantage of having less sites than your opponent, and especially because you're trying to ramp, typically, if you're playing that card.
Yeah, absolutely. And then to speak of Roots, Roots is it's very, I guess it fits your description here with narrow. It has one game plan and it's very good at it. But yeah.
And honestly, if it wasn't for some of the nerfs to the Mulligan rule, it's even possible that Crossroads should have been moved up to flexible and powerful. But I ended up, it's hard to really know. It doesn't provide threshold. It really only goes into the one deck. So it ended up being pretty narrow and powerful at the end of the meta. I don't know. What are your thoughts? How do you feel like Crossroads fares out? And what are your, how do you feel about Crossroads going into the next set as well?
Crossroads is it's very powerful in the 20 card atlas because it burns through a quarter of your atlas, right?
Yep.
I think it gets a little worse going with the 30 atlas size, but it's still gonna be very crucial in site game plans.
Yeah.
So it's gonna lose a little bit of its ump, but it's still gonna be pretty good.
Yeah, you're never upset if you're playing if you're playing a monocolor deck. There's a good chance that you could probably fit a Crossroads in there and not be upset about it, especially if there's certain utility lands that you want to dig for. But we'll have to see how thresholds end up shaking up at the end of it. Paradise, it's funny. Whenever I first saw this card, I'm like, oh, this is pretty good. You play it in the corner of the realm. I even recently tried to play Paradise in a 3-color Death Speaker deck that I was playing. I don't know. How do you feel like Paradise fares at the end of Alpha and Beta?
It's so bad. It's so bad. The
Yeah,
the the fact it gives your opponent a thing to attack. It's like, hey, if you get here, you get to turn off one of my mana and my threshold for this thing. Maybe I just need the one air it's providing, but you can turn that off. Like giving your opponent that option to interact with your stuff, just bad.
yeah, I agree. It's definitely not a card I'll be playing going forward. I don't think anybody's ever played it against me. I tried to play it once and force it into a deck, and it came out actually after getting it turned off a couple times in a row. So not a great card here. Quick Tadpole Pool, Island Leviathan. I think these are cards that are probably going to get better with the next set because of water. That triple threshold requirement on Tadpole made it not as powerful. I think it's fine. I don't know. Any other takes on this fine but flexible tier?
Island Leviathan, no, just like the site going up, their site count going up makes all these questions much harder to answer. Who knows? But yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. In the narrow and fine, anything stand out? Anything that you want to call out of this row?
Going into Arthurian Legends, I think, is it Battlefield? Yeah, Battlefield brings back artifacts. Yeah, like there's going to be some cool artifacts you want to get back. I think that's going to go up.
Exactly.
I think Boneyard is a very slept on kind of like, it's almost card advantage if you can play it on turn 2 or 3 and you only have, if you're the one who has a minion in your yard. I don't know. I would like to see more Boneyards played.
Absolutely. I'll do a selfish plug out for the Death Speaker Reanimator deck. I have several deck techs and a few live gameplay videos of that. My favorite thing, and of course I didn't get it on video, I had a turn 3 Lord of the Void thanks to Battlefield, or not Battlefield. Boneyard, and started banishing sites, and it was game over after a turn 3 Lord of the Void.
Talking with CJ about the new sites coming out, Wizard's Den. I think Wizard's Den is going to be a huge hit to or boom to a Reanimator style thing. You play it 2 on turn 2, and you ask your opponent, attack me. Put my giant creature in my graveyard, please, because you get control of the card you discard.
Yep. Exactly. Then you have Rise Again, which, by the way, Rise Again, you can summon it to any site. It does not have to be your own, which was something I learned relatively recently. And yeah, just drop a giant beater on top of their avatar. Good luck getting rid of this one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun card. All right. Kind of bad tier. I don't know. Does there any stand out here that maybe was a bad take back in February?
I don't know. I'll let you call this one out. I have my eyes on one.
All right. So where would you place Smokestacks? Since this is probably one of the most meta-defining cards, it got played probably some of the most decks. Where does Smokestacks end up at the end of this?
It is one of the only counters you have to a Roots deck, other than playing like your own Sinkhole and like popping their Sinkhole when they play it, because it's like they have to wait an extra turn to play Roots and Sinkhole. It's the only way to interact with sites. I think it's one of the best sites out there. It's another utility land in my mind. The fact it's fire is kind of cool, but it's a utility land.
The fact, if you're playing a fire deck, out of 10, how many times are you playing Smokestacks?
Oh, it goes in every fire deck, right?
There you go. So I think it definitely goes to that flexible and powerful tier just for that.
Yeah.
I will say, like, this card punishes you if you don't think through your site placement.
Yeah.
And so pay attention.
That's the thing we've been
turn off their towers and all their other sites playing this card.
That's what I've been seeing in the player base is people are getting better and understanding site placements more and more. Where 6 months and a year ago, it was just like, I play a site, cool, why not, whatever. But without thinking of where and why to play sites in that position, like, you don't want to play a Smokestacks on 2 because you turn off so many of your nearby sites. You want to play this on 3, so it's like off to the left side or right side away from your other sites. It's those little decisions that really make good players from the best players.
Yep, exactly. And I was a bad player in February and March and got punished too many times by Smokestacks.
we all were.
Any sites that you're like, hey, going into the next set, we're gonna bump these up?
I don't see Bedrock on this list, but I think Bedrock is really good. I think going into the next set, you're going to see a lot more site interaction, hopefully, maybe, possibly. And then just Bedrock is so like, this is my site, don't do it, you can't touch it.
Boom.
I think Bedrock will be flexible and powerful because it goes in almost any deck because it's another utility land in my mind.
Yep. So this list was only elites and uniques, and so Bedrock
Oh, okay.
definitely a flexible, powerful card. Only going to continue to get better. A staple, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
sites.
no,
It's fascinating because now since these are only uniques and elites, you're going to see them less often with the different site
yep,
size.
yep.
But I'll stay open minded. We'll see what other utility sites. Like it's always fun when you get to play out of Vesuvius and you get to blow it up. The story that Vesuvius can tell, or casting the Death's Door kill using your River of Flame. Like I like the swinginess. I like those big moments, and maybe if there's more of these really powerful sites, that we're able to have more of those moments after the next set as well.
And I think the larger deck, the site size, will make those moments even more special because they won't happen as often, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I had it at the right time, and it doesn't always happen, but the one time it does, it wins you the game, and it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm excited. I think it'll be fun. I'm trying to be open minded about it, but it definitely is going to decrease some of that consistency. Like Roost combos,
Yep.
that's going to be a tough one. All right, sliding over to air. So same kind of tier list, that flexible and powerful. Looking at it that way, anything on this flexible and powerful tier would you change? Going now that we have full alpha and beta knowledge.
My personal opinion is I hate Chaos Twister. I'm not. No, I think it's a good card. I should say it's a good card. Personally, I don't like it. But that's my personal opinion. Air really just needs that movement or that just hard removal, right? So I think it stays up there. 4 mana, hypothetically kill a thing is really good. I think all three of those are still very good.
Yeah, it's a Chaos Twister is fun, and if you watch this Saturday's video, you will probably see something funny happen. Me throwing a Chaos Twister on top of my own avatar. So I have fun watching that.
See,
one.
It's bad. It's a bad card.
It's bad. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So narrow and powerful. So this was before the Dream Quest nerf as well. So that's one thing I want to call out here.
You're gonna have to remind me on what the change was
for
that.
Dream Quest. You used to be able to cast Dream Quest on your avatar, and they changed that to make it where your avatar is no longer a spellcaster. It's just they can cast spells, and that nerf really changes the way the Dream Quest works because now it can only be cast on an actual spellcaster, like an Apprentice Wizard, a Grandmaster Wizard, and so that really hurts the decks that it can go into.
Gotcha. Yeah, the only time I've ever played against a Dream Quest, I was always able to wake up the minion. So I like the idea of tutoring a card is really good, but giving your opponent an option to do something about it seems fine or not great.
Yeah, exactly. It's card disadvantage at that point. The way you used to be able to cast it was go turn 1, something that produced an air threshold, cast Dream Quest, and go tutor a card for turn 2. Like, it was incredibly strong then, and it made sense that they had to make that change. But the only call is like 3 threshold is a lot for browse, but if you're like most decks are playing browse if they're playing air, and they're not like a 3 color deck.
Yeah, no, I think browse is really good. It's almost a tutor. You can almost if you build your deck to have like a percentage of kill spells, minions, whatever. Usually in the top 7, you can find what you need.
Yeah. One thing I'm just noticing on this list, it's really the ordinaries and exceptionals that set air apart. Because really, like, there's a ton in this like flexible and kind of like their fine category. There's not a ton of lights out cards in the elite unique space.
No, like Plume Pegasus for Avatar of Air is like the best minion. It's an ordinary 3/3 that can fly.
Yeah.
It's so innocuous, but it's the best card in that deck.
What do you mean? It's just like a 3-mana boss control. No, I'm just kidding.
But Airborne is so good. Anything
it's worth a mana to have.
Going into Arthurian Legends, anything that has extra movement like Airborne or plus movement or blocks freely or whatever, anything that has extra movement is going to be better than you expect.
Yeah, the defensive capabilities of an untapped Pegasus is really strong.
It's so annoying to play against.
Anything in here in this like flexible category that maybe you would downgrade or you would upgrade?
Highland Falconer, it's I think one of the best. Another good air minion. The ability to get 3 power on board for 2 mana split across 2 bodies
Yep.
seems really good. And maybe there's new things to tutor, so maybe that one goes up a little bit.
You think it's still narrow, or do you
Lord of
think
the
it just goes
Void.
into flexible?
I think it's flexible and powerful. Like the ability to go get more minions, and it's a tutor, right? And tutors are good.
Yep. No, I agree. I think that's a good take
Yeah.
there to go ahead and bump that one up.
Other than this, everything seems pretty reasonable. Grim Reaper is really cool, but it dies really easily. The dragon moves freely. That's kind of cool. Lord of the Void is a big old finisher. I don't know. I like where all these are at.
The one shout out I'll give is to the candle combo, and
No,
when it goes
it's
off,
a bad combo. Don't play it.
when it goes off, it's powerful, but it's narrow in the deck that it goes
Yeah.
in. But when you get locked out of 4 turns in a row or 5 turns in a row, it's pretty powerful. I don't know. Maybe I'll throw that one out there.
That's fair. It is. I don't like it just because it removes the opponent's agency.
Yep.
I feel like sorcery is the best when it's I go and do stuff, and then you have to make decisions based on what I did, and like that back and forth is really really fun. Candleless Monks combo just takes that whole aspect of the game out. Even Roots kind of
Right.
resets, but you still have agency and you're still doing things. But I think Candleless Monks is my least favorite card.
And I think based on some of your commentary, I think you might agree that we could just kind of bump Dream Quest down. Bad.
Yeah.
People aren't really playing this one. Yeah. Any card that you're excited to brew with, or that you think is going to get better going into the next set?
Get better and going into the next set. I want to see what Princess can tutor. What Princess can go get.
Let's go. Princess just gets better. I like it.
Just gets better and better.
Well, I mean, now that it's harder to find your cores, your stones, whatever the one drop
Mhm.
artifact is, that makes a lot of sense. The Princess would just get better here. I want there to be more spellcasters. I want Occult Ritual to work. It is so close to just being in the bad tier, though. It's so hard.
Oh, there was I forget what. Oh, there was I forget his name. Oh no, he was trying to break Occult Ritual with Recall and Plague of Frogs and Throne. He was trying to win all in one turn with Occult Ritual. Yeah. It was
and then
really
you got to be on the spellcaster site that makes everything a spellcaster.
Yeah, the Standing Stones.
Yep. There you go. Yes. I think that's, it's interesting. Like this, they kind of land. They did such a good job on the design. Like I don't know if there's a ton of things that could go out. I mean, I guess like the unique here, the Witherwing Hero can always get better if there's more minions that it can go get. Having a 4/4 flyer is always good, but I think that's probably fine about where it is. So going over to Earth here, any changes that you would make now that Ravenous Titan is basically never played?
It's not never played.
I think it goes into this flexible and fine category now, but
yeah,
the main thing is like it has to be on your site. You're basically already losing at this point. It's a sweet control card. And it was really cool when you could, put a summoning sphere on top of somebody and drop a Ravenous Titan on them. But then the gen combo just ended up being better at the end of it.
Yeah, that is very true. I don't know. I've died to a lot of Titans because I played a lot of Avatar of Earth, so I'm a lot on opponent's site all the time. So I got Titaned a bunch from death speakers and whatnot, and it was super super frustrating. But yeah, I think flexible and fine is where it's at, just because the mana cost is higher.
Yeah, exactly. Being a 7-drop is tough. Earthquake, up there for one of the best spells in the game. But who knows? Maybe with water becoming more powerful, though, it's that might change going to the next set. Maybe it becomes a sideboard card.
Even if water becomes more powerful, the ability to move your opponent's site and disrupt what they're trying to do, like maybe they have a body of water, you just want to break it up and pull their body of water into your site and surround it with your stuff. Maybe you can, like, the ability to move your opponent's sites is really really strong.
Yeah, it definitely is. And thematically, probably one of the best cards in Sorcery. Being able to shift things around, move the bodies of water around. Sweet concept.
Yep.
Anything on this narrow and powerful tier that you're like, I don't know. It's maybe it goes into flexible.
I'm interested in your thoughts on the Seeds of Zur, Seeds or Zur, whatever.
Yeah, so in Geomancer, I thought it was going to be really strong. And that was really it. It's really powerful in Geomancer when it goes off. But then I didn't at the time know that Geomancer's only nearby, and so it
Yep.
can't like just tap forever. And that's where I thought Star Seeds was going to be really strong. And so I don't know. Is it bad? Is there a reason to play
It's
Star
kind
Seeds?
of bad.
Yeah.
I don't unless there's reason to have rubble everywhere. Maybe Authurian Legends has some payoff for that or something for it, but I don't know.
Hey, maybe there's
I
more
think you're
moves
playing.
freely abilities that come out, and then you
Yeah,
just start running everywhere. That could be it.
you seeds, and then you moves freely all around your opponent's blockers, and you can get around them. Maybe that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah.
All right. Any other changes that you would make, which seems like it might be better than what I gave it credit for back then?
It dies so easily to violence and kobolds and firebolts and just random things. Like the 2 power minion and the 1 power minion are just so vulnerable. 3 powers you get a little bit better. 4 gets a little stickier. Like you can like play a 4 power minion and have it stick around. But the effect is really cool. I think fine and flexible and fine is right where it is.
Anything else that you would change on this list?
Um, I don't like the queen. She just maybe it gets good with round table, but the queen, as of beta meta, sometimes you don't draw a card off of her. You play a 5 mana creature that doesn't draw you a card or have any kind of pressure. It just feels you probably can you can earthquake for 5 mana. I would rather earthquake than Queen of Midland.
You'd rather Earthquake than draw a card? Come on. Oh,
Yeah, I'd rather kill their thing than yeah. That's my play style, but that's
drawing a card is always the right answer. No, you're probably right. Uh, Going into the next set, what are you excited for? Is there anything that stands out to you is going to be a lot better?
there's a guy in Narrow and Fine that's kind of a king of sorts, mortals and knights, and I think it's going to be another big boon to the knights deck that's going to pop up probably of like 3-4 color knights, and the king of the realm will be the big finisher or something.
That's going to be one of the most frustrating things. You're playing the Knight mirror match, and then your opponent
Mhm.
draws the 1 in 50 Knight King of the Realm. And
Yeah,
it's just game over. They take
yeah.
over everything. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's a great one. Obviously, I think a lot of the knights is kind of what you're going to see here. Like Royal Bodyguard, no brainer to protect your royalty.
Yeah,
Anything else that you feel like
absolutely.
stands out is like, this is probably going to get a lot better next set.
Maybe assorted animals. We were talking about tutors. We've seen knights and things, but maybe there's some cool beasts like questing beasts and other things you can go get with assorted animals.
Definitely. I think that'll be great. Any sort of tutor effect is only going to get better over time, especially common sense, right? But
Oh yeah,
assorted animals will be
oh
exciting
yeah.
to see. All right. Moving over here to water. Any changes that you see maybe in the top 2 tiers?
Well, you have exactly what I have on flexible and powerful on my tier list of Atlantean Fate and Ruler of Thule. Like they both come down, do something, and just can change the game.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Those are game-changing cards. If there was better cards that you could play, there's also not a lot of charge minions right now, and Ruler of Thule is the best charge minion, I think by far.
Yep.
And so, really strong card. As more support comes out, Ruler of Thule is only going to get better. And there's been a lot of backline type of sites or cards coming out of Arthurian Legends, and so I'm curious how that'll impact Ruler of Thule.
Ooh, yeah. You're playing round table, play your knights to the round table, and then like have some defensive sites up front, and then play Ruler of Thule and attack your backline. Ooh, that's gonna be cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for Ruler of Thule. Here, you know what? We'll just go ahead and throw the green arrow over there right now. I'm excited for it.
Nice, yeah.
All right, going to the
Narrow
fine
and powerful.
categories. What are your thoughts here?
Actually, narrow and your powerful. Wrath of Sea, like it doesn't kill things on bedrocks. It's 7 mana, so it's really expensive, and sometimes it doesn't kill everything. I think it's fine. Maybe narrow and fine.
What other removal are you playing in water though? All right, fine. It's fine. I get it. No,
I
it's
would
like
rather
a much
play.
worse earthquake, and it's too much, and it's 2 mana more. I'm with you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Mariner's Curse like Riptide combo thing, like kill a minion and bounce the Mariner's Curse to hand and draw a card. Like, I would rather be doing that.
Fair enough. Yep. No, that's good. Okay. The find category. What are your thoughts here?
The Hydra is really cool. Something I've learned in playing Sorcery is I thought Hydra was like this card's gonna win me the game, but I since learned that if a thing comes down and doesn't do anything, that's a pretty big cost. So you really want like Ruler of Thule to come down and do something, or Great Old One come down and flood the realm. Like you get some value from playing the card. The Hydra comes down and it's just a minion
Nice.
at the end of the day. Yeah, it's just a minion.
Yeah.
But
And I think what
that's
people
my
don't
thoughts.
necessarily, if you're new to the game, what you don't realize is that
Mhm.
if it's buried, it dies. That's it. That's lethal damage there, and that's what makes it so challenging right now.
Yeah, I think Self Same's really cool. Captain Baldassar is like a really high ceiling. Polar Explorers might get really good with some water control lists. Yeah, I don't. It all seem pretty reasonable there. Maybe Self Same goes up because maybe there's some cool knights or things to copy.
Yeah, definitely. Because
Yeah.
you can copy anything. You can copy a great old one for 4 mana.
Yep.
Yeah, so really
Yeah,
strong
absolutely.
card. Just hasn't been a ton of support in water to make it shine yet. I like that call.
In your next line here, I think Silence gets really good because there's does it turn off Lance? It might turn off the Lance tokens, or that might be something else. If it turns off Lance, like the first strike, I think that'd be really good because I think it's going to be a huge issue. There's going to be a lot of a lot of powerful static effects. Removing those, it's going to be big.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's I think it's only going to get better, and I'm excited. And who knows? Maybe there's more auras that come out too, and Enchantress gets better. So
Hopefully, maybe. Who knows?
yes. Okay, and I think replication right now, I think the way it's being used is being able to copy eggs, but in the future, I don't know. Maybe there's more artifacts that are better to replicate.
Yeah, that's a good call. There's Authurian Legends got Excalibur. Get 2 Excaliburs on your on your caravan and swing for 12. That'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and last but not least, here we have fire. And so, how are we feeling in the powerful category?
I like Infiltrate. Death Seeker is a little expensive, but the Genesis effect in Death Speaker is just huge. I bet that this is the height of Jin combo, so that makes sense why it's so high up, so up here.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think if I'm playing this in every single fire deck, it probably drops down to narrow and powerful. But I do think it's a good card. But yeah, you're probably right here.
Yeah, then you're in the next row there. I think Jihad is flexible and powerful. Like any fire minion in AL, drop it on your opponent's head seems really good.
Yeah. Nope, that makes sense. And this Scorched Earth used to be how Roots was played. Was Scorched Earthing your own Roots. That's like not happening anymore. It probably drops down to narrow and fine. Or
I would agree with that. I think it's narrow and fine. In Pathfinder, actually, you can scorch through with your own sites. You're playing 8, 10 sites. You don't care about 3 of them, and destroy your opponent's minions. It's kind of cool there.
All right. Yeah. No, that's a good take. All right. Into the fine category, how are you feeling about these?
Manticore, we were talking earlier. It's like it comes down. Does it do anything? Does it have any extra value? Does it? At the end of the day, it's a minion. It's airborne, which is really really strong. But for 5 mana, like maybe you want to be doing something else. But seems fine and flexible. I like maybe Phoenix goes down narrow and fine. There's not a whole lot of like shoot your own Phoenix with firebolts stuff.
Yep. No, I agree. Yeah, Flame Wave, great finisher. Major Explosion, it's not being as played much right now. Who knows? Maybe there's a burn deck in the future, but I don't know. Maybe it's just it's definitely fine. It's not bad by any means.
It, definitely 6 months ago, it was like Death Speaker. This is the way it kind of wins, like with the final blow.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, narrow and fine. Anything here that stands out to you?
Um, Disintegrates is very narrow, like in the the sections it's in. Immolation's really cool, but it doesn't work for Flame Caller, Dragon, and Infernal Legion might be flexible and fine. The come down, deal 3 to everything, remove a bunch of chump blockers is really good. Other than this, I agree.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Anything in this the kind of bad tier? How are you feeling about those?
Doomsday Prophet, Warp Spasm. It's just I don't know. I haven't seen them a whole lot of played. I agree with kind of bad on those.
Yeah, maybe there's a brew around deck where it makes sense. Anything that stands out to you is like, oh, this is going to get a lot better going into the next set.
Maybe Quarters and Thias because there's going to be cool stuff your opponent's trying to do and trying to disrupt that. It's really good. So maybe Quarters and Thias goes up to flexible and powerful.
Yeah, it is a fun card too, and I really enjoy playing it. It's one that it doesn't get to come down too often, but when it does, like it's a memorable experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Maybe within the dragon set, there's like some sort of dragon
Ooh.
ramp that comes out. I know this isn't Authurian Legends, but maybe Eighth Dragon can actually shine a little bit then.
Oh, that'd be really cool. I know. There's a 5 mana deal for nearby spellcaster or any dragon.
Yes.
I forget what.
Incinerate.
Incinerate. Yeah, maybe with more dragons, Incinerate can see some play. But
Yeah, definitely. And I'm curious if Far East Assassin going into the next set being an artifact themed set, if there's any sort of additional maddening bells type,
Ooh.
large artifacts that you want on your opponent's side of the board that you can throw. I don't know. There's always an opportunity. That's a card that you always have to think about.
Yeah, Far East Assassin gets better with more artifacts, right? So it's hard to know without knowing the artifacts, but I can see that.
Yeah, we were talking about discard outlets earlier. Season Sellsword is one where you discard. It's not a random card. You can get to select the card that you discard. So in your Boneyard comment earlier, that's another good piece in that combo.
Yeah, no, exactly. That makes a lot of sense.
I think that wraps up the review here. So I would just shout back out to Bruce and Golden Eagle Cards. If you haven't subscribed, if you want gameplay video, Bruce was the original gameplay video channel for people to go through. So make sure you go to Bruce's channel, Golden Eagle Cards, subscribe. Make sure the link is in the description down below. But Bruce, any closing comments that you have here?
No, thanks for having me. This was a great time. I like talking about sorcery, so thanks everybody.